Be careful what books you pick up in a library or a store, because sometimes they come with curses attached. Written in the early 1600s by Martin de Leon Cardenas, The Orphan Story is a novel about a young Spaniard who heads to the Americas in search of fortune. And while that sounds like every adventure story ever, there's a bit of an outlier. There's a bit of a darkness that lurks within its pages that led to the novel not being published until 2018. The first draft was a 328-page manuscript, slightly yellowed, slightly worn and aged, missing a couple of pages. Belinda Palacios, a Peruvian scholar who edited the book for 2 years, she was apparently warned by multiple people about it. So it was first set to appear in 1621 under the pen name of André de Leon, but never made it to press due to the presidential atmosphere at the time in Sicily. So the manuscript then sat in the Hispanic Society of America until 1965, when Belinda rediscovered it, and she learned many attempts to publish it had happened, giving rise to rumors that malevolent energy lurked among the almost 400 pages, causing the people working on it to, die. So in an interview she commented on the reported deaths, saying one was from strange diseases, another was a car accident, and something else. So Belinda had heard from other professors she was working with to publish the book. One of them specialized in colonial letters from the Andean regions and Mexico. This person went by the name of Raquel Chang Rodriguez. Now these letters describe how Antonio Rodriguez Monino and William C. Bryant both died before finishing their editions of the book. And that's why the manuscript is believed to be cursed. She's like, yeah, that's why this is taken so long to publish, because if you work on it, that's the end of your life. Okay, don't touch it. Most books would be happy with a gift card or dinner for their birthday, but Abraham the Mage, or Abraham, depending on who you ask, decided to give his son a book full of mythical curses. Yay! So this book tells the story of an Egyptian mage named Abraham, or Abramelin, who taught in a system of magic to Abraham of Worms, a Jew in Worms, Germany. The system of magic from this book regained popularity in the 19th and 20th centuries, partly due to Samuel Liddell MacGregor Mather's translation, which dubbed it the Book of the Sacred Magic of Abraham the Mage. So ever since it was translated to English, this 15th century novel has had a reputation for being cursed. Now there are several theories why, but a lot of folks believe it has to do with the mage's belief that everybody has their own unique personal demon. And throughout the book, there are instructions for rituals and supernatural feats to bring your demons under control. So internally, the text dates itself to the year 1458, and the book exists in the form of 12 manuscripts and an early printed edition. Now the earliest manuscripts are two versions that date from about 1608, are written in German, while another two manuscripts are from about 1700 and 1750. The practical magic found in both Book 3 of the French text and Book 4 of the German tends to center around a set of talismans composed of magic word squares. These are similar to traditional magic squares, though the latter are usually composed of numbers, whereas these ones contain letters. Commonly, word squares are used as puzzles or teaching aids. So in the context of all of this, the focus becomes mystical, so each square should contain words or names that relate to the magical goal of the square. A parallel is found in the famous Sator Arapotenet Abra Rotas word square, an altered version of which is also found amongst these squares. So you combine a cursed book and math puzzles, and you get no thank you, moving on. I feel like calling something an untitled grimoire should be scary enough on its own, but allow me to elaborate. These manuscripts were believed to be written in the early 1900s, as their first library appearance was around the 1920s. The books originated when a Wiccan high priestess called Persephone Adrastea Irene recorded her family's spiritual history of being an American witch of Swedish and English ancestry. These manuscripts record Persephone's witchy history that she reworked through all of her adult life, incorporating her mother's grimoire into them as well. So the first book contains about 250 pages of spells, incantations, curses, and enchantments, as well as corresponding information on gems, planets, rites, potions, and even exorcisms. The second book includes about 150 to 200 pages of alchemy and chemistry recipes, cures, perfumes and balms, nerve tonics, and even hairspray recipes. So the first book is believed to carry the curse heavier than its counterpart, seeing as Persephone's spells are believed in Wiccan culture to contain more power than most other records due to the embodiment of herself within them. Originally the books belonged to Alice Montserrat, who moved to the UK in the 1920s to work with famed occultist Aleister Crowley. Later on they both went on to work with the Golden Dawn Order and printed their works and publications as occultism raised into the modern world. So even though Alice did little reporting on the cursed lore over these books, she did make notes as to why she and others within the order believed the curse carried some serious weight. She wrote an inscription warning all those who read it, saying, "To those not of the craft, the reading of this book is forbidden. Proceed no further, or justice will exact exact a swift and terrible retribution, and he will surely suffer at the hand of the craft. Now this was written not only in English, but other languages as well, because they were like, we really want to warn people, stay away. The Grand Grimoire is a black magic grimoire, and different editions date this specific one to maybe 1521, 1522, 1421, but it was probably written during the early 19th century. Some experts suggest that maybe 1702 was when the first edition may have been created, and a Bibliothèque Bleue version, similar to a chapter book of the text, might have been published in 1750. I know, that's a lot of dates, I'm sorry. The introductory chapter was authored by Antonia Venetia del Rabina, who gathered his information from the original writings of King Solomon. So a lot of the material of this grimoire derives from the Key of Solomon and Lesser Key of Solomon, which are grimoires attributed to, you guessed it, the king. Also known as Le Dragon Rouge or the Red Dragon, this book contains instructions on how to summon Lucifer or Lucifuge Rofocal for the purpose of forming a deal with the devil. So the 19th century French occultist Eliphas Lévy, author of Dogmes et Rituels de la Haute Magie, claimed the contemporary edition of Le Dragon Rouge was a counterfeit of a true older Grand Grimoire. So the overall work divided into two books. Book number 1, it has instructions for summoning a demon, and for the construction of tools with which to force the demon to do one's bidding. Book number 2 is divided further into two parts. The Sanctum Regnum and Secrets de l'Art Magique du Grand Grimoire. The Sanctum Regnum contains instructions for making a pact with the demon, allowing one to command the spirit without tools that were required by Book 1, but at a greater risk. Secrets contain simple spells and rituals that you can employ after having performed the ritual of Book number 1. Some editions contain a short text between the two parts, known as Le Secret Magique ou Le Grand Art de Pouvoir Parler aux Morts, or in English, the magic secret or the grand art of being able to speak with the dead, which deals with necromancy. The book describes several demons as well as the rituals to summon them. Just all this to make that pact with them. It also details several spells for winning a lottery, talking to spirits, being loved, making oneself invisible, and so forth and so on. This book mentions 3 greater demons, which are similarly prioritized in the Grimorium Verum, and sidebar, in the English translation of the work, the demons are referenced by the more generic term of spirits, which is a term I know a lot of modern Satanists prefer. And finally for today, the Munich Manual of Demonic Magic, or MMDM, or Liber Incantatorium Exorcimorium et Fascinatorium Vererium, is a 15th century grimoire manuscript whose name I totally just butchered. The text, composed in Latin, is largely concerned with demonology and necromancy. Richard Kiekefer edited the text of the manuscript in 1998 under the title Forbidden Rites, a necromancer's manual of the 15th century. Portions of the text in English translation are presented in Forbidden Rites as well, embedded within the author's essays and explanations on the Munich Manual in specific and grimoires in general. The Russian translation of this Latin grimoire was published in 2019, and the first English translation was only published in 2023. There was only one known surviving manuscript of the original manual, which is almost complete, minus the first 2 folios that describe the beginning of rituals. The rest of the grimoire contains complete instructions for the invocation of demons, such as Satan, Lilith, Aseroth, and Samael, as well as the supposed attainment of favors and supernatural powers. Some of the spells allow for, you guessed it, obtaining the love of another, achieving invisibility, acquiring wealth and treasures, or gaining knowledge. The text is accompanied by over 40 illustrations of magic circles and symbols to be used in rituals. You've got a list of 11 demons, similar to the ones from the Ars Goetia, and as you guessed it, most of the text is in Latin, minus a little bit of German and Italian. Well, that's all for today, folks. I've been Alexa, your resident ookie spooky girly. See ya!